From a time when the first part was delayed for multiple years and the second installment was in question, to the movie performing beyond expectations both critically and in box office, we are now just 1 week away from Dune Part 2 being released in theaters. When it first came out, I really liked the movie, loved it, how ambitious and risky the venture was, and how successfully Denis Villeneuve translated this into an out-of-the-world experience. I was worried that a lot of people might not find it commercial or fast enough, as it had a lot of information to unpack, and essentially being a character driven movie rather than action. I'm just glad people liked it, so much so that it raked in good numbers and you are finally getting a second installment. That too had its own shares of delay due to strikes, but I guess delays have been lucky for Dune and hopefully it works out the same way the last one did. With the second one right around the corner, I rewatched the first part and quickly wanted to talk about why I fell in love with this movie in the first place and the things that I'm looking forward to see in part 2. If you have not watched it yet and missed the theater experience last time, I highly recommend you watch the first part and get yourself geared up for Dune 2 in theaters. It's an experience you definitely don't want to miss, especially in IMAX if you can. Dune Part 1 is about House Atreides, a noble family who gets entangled some way with betrayal and ruse in a war for control over the galaxy's valuable asset, spices, while its heir, played by Timothy, becomes troubled by visions of a dark future. That's the most oversimplified way of putting it from IMDb. The movie is more complex than this summary lets on. I don't mind a movie that's almost 3 hours with little to no action if it spends enough time on the characters, their motivations and their journey without making it boring because the actors are vicariously living through the characters. Dune was a great example of it, wherein the aesthetic world they've built is awe-inspiring enough, but it never overindulges itself in just showing off the great visuals, but spends most of its time with the characters and what they aspire to become. Paul Atreides, the main character we follow in part 1, is trying to learn the voice, this thing which is an ability to influence mind of others in a way, and is constantly tormented with this vision he keeps having, sort of looking into the future. One of the other reasons why I appreciated this movie is because Denis Villeneuve did a great job covering loads of information in a span of just 2 hours and 35 minutes, especially for people who have never heard of Dune, neither from the original books by Frank Herbert, on which the movie is based on, nor seen David Lynch's version of the movies as well. When I got to know that part 2 is going to be around 10 minutes longer than the first one, sitting somewhere around 2 hours and 46 minutes, I was delighted. I want more of that complex characters. Most of the movie in part 1 is from House Atreides POV, getting to know Paul, his dad, his mom, and his mentors, and get to know each character and their relationship with each other. However, one thing that I would love to explore in this sequel is to see more of the other side, like how House Harkonnen came to be and what their deal is. Zendaya didn't have major or any presence in the first part either, apart from what we see in Paul's vision. Obviously, we'll get to see more of her in the second part, and I'm looking forward to that as well. It's expected human behavior to be a little cautious when we like a movie and we hope the sequel to that manages the already set expectations. And the general consensus among people is that nothing beats the first part ever, or maybe like very few occasions. This is one of the rare instances where I'm being super optimistic only because of Denis Villeneuve. I mean, he's one of the few directors whose movie have a repeat watch value. I can come back to any of his previous works and have a good time. Seeing how he managed to take on such a risky task with the first part and did a great job of creating a movie that had people go to theaters, talk about it, had people get excited for a movie. Don't want to speak too soon, but I do believe he'll be outdoing his previous work with Dune Part 2. Dune was not just a great storytelling, but with earnest dedication to the craft by the characters and the visual world building that is beautiful and immersive. It was not just a movie but an experience. You feel the experience even more through Hans Zimmer's out-of-the-world music. This experience is what makes people go to theaters, and there are very few movies who can proudly say that. With Dune Part 2, I expect nothing less but the same experience all over again. The visuals, the music, the performance, an experience that will be cherished years for time to come. This is one of the most anticipated movies for me in 2020, and I feel a lot of people might feel that because the list isn't as exciting. In addition to that, the involvement this movie provides, we might not have this kind of movie for like next few years. When the first part came out, people started comparing it with Game of Thrones, Star Wars, and things like these don't happen that often. Let me know if you guys are excited as well to watch the movie, or if you just don't, really care about movies at this point. Thanks a lot for watching the video. See you in the next one.